Hello, boys and girls. How are you? I hope that you are having a nice day. We are going to finish the lesson that we started 2 days ago about how farming affects our land and water. And let's go over the learning target just to make sure that we are clear. It was the same learning target, and we haven't accomplished it yet because today is the day that we put everything together and we actually see how farming, as necessary as it is for humans on our planet, how it affects the planet itself. Okay, so let's look at the learning target. And just a reminder, we always have to make sure that we understand what the learning target is. That way, we know exactly what it is that we're trying to get to, what learning we are trying to do. And if anybody asks, hey, what are you learning science today? You can easily tell them, this is exactly what I learned, because you are clear about your target. So let's look at the learning target. So our learning target, I can research, formulate questions, and use new and existing information to explain how farming can affect the land and the water. So we already have some information in our brains from things that we knew, or programs that we have watched, or books that we have read, or just things that we have experienced. And now we have added some new information there to be able to explain how farming can affect the land and the water. So last lesson we discussed, right, if you had a farm, if you owned a farm, how would you deal with those insects? How would you deal with the bugs? How would you deal with the pests? What would you do to get rid of them? How would you make the plants grow better, grow faster, grow healthier? What would you do, right? So think about that for a couple of minutes, even though you've already done that, but just to refresh our memory, the information that we have there in our brains. What would you do if you were the owner of a farm? What would you do with the bugs? How could you get rid of them? How would you make plants grow healthier? What would you do? Think about it. So today we're going to concentrate on two specific words, okay? To analyze how farming affects the land and the water, we're going to concentrate on two words. One word is pesticides. So one word is pesticides. The other word is fertilizers. Fertilizers. Those two words are extremely important today to close our lessons and to really get to the target of how farming affects the land and the water. So to get right down to it, we're going to open a document that is titled, Why Do Farmers Use Fertilizers? Why do farmers use fertilizers? And let me open it, and it looks like this. It looks like this, okay? I'm going to read the first few lines, and then you're going to be reading on your own, okay? So why do farmers use fertilizers? There is a question that somebody asked. I've heard that fertilizers can have negative effects. Why do farmers use fertilizers? And the answer, very clearly in the article, says, all the nutrients in our food originally come from the soil. In order to create healthy crops full of nutrients, farmers need to work with healthy soil. So to make the soil healthy, farmers add fertilizers. So now I want you to continue reading there, paying specific attention to that question. Why do farmers use fertilizers? So read the article on your own, and after you finish the article, you should be able to answer that question. Why do farmers use fertilizers? Okay? So read, and then at the end, answer that question. So what do you think? Why do farmers use fertilizers, according to the article, right? So I hope that you understood that after farmers use the land over and over and over and over to plant different crops, nutrients start to diminish, right? We start to lose nutrients. So they have to add nutrients to that soil so that plants can be healthy. Because plants use the nutrients from the soil to grow healthy. So farmers have to add that powder. They have to add the fertilizer to make sure that their crops are growing, or their plants are growing healthy, and they can harvest the crops. Now, before we move on to the next article, I want you to start thinking about two questions. Does the soil absorb all the fertilizer? When farmers spray that fertilizer on that farm, on that soil, does it all go there? And if not, where does some of the fertilizers go? So where do they go? Think about that. Start thinking about that, okay? So as you read about fertilizers and about pesticides, some of the fertilizers and pesticides must go somewhere. Where do they go? Think about those two questions. Now there's another article that I want you to read. It's called Why Do Farmers Use Pesticides? Do you see it there? Let me open it so that you see what it looks like. It looks like this, okay? Why do farmers use pesticides? And you must be now already thinking, well, pesticides, why do farmers use pesticides? So let me read that first paragraph together, and then you continue on your own. And then again, the question is, why do farmers use pesticides? So pesticides are chemicals that kill pests. They kill bugs. Farmers often use pesticides on crops to kill unwanted pests, including insects and rodents, to prevent them from destroying crops. Farmers choose chemical pesticides to protect their crops because it is economical. They're cheaper, okay? The benefits from using pesticides in terms of crop yield outweigh the cost of using pesticides. So farmers think that even though pesticides might not be the best for our planet, they have to in order to grow their crops. Now, why do farmers use pesticides? You keep reading that and you answer that question, okay? So what do you think? If you were a farmer, would you use pesticides? What do you think? Probably, right? I mean, we want to get rid of the pests, of the bugs. Now, pesticides and fertilizers have an effect, okay, on our land and water. And that is the next thing that I want us to examine, okay? So I ask you to start thinking about that. Where does the leftover pesticide go? Where does the leftover fertilizer go? Okay, and what are the effects that they have on land and water? Okay, and for this we're going to watch a video. There's a guy that really explains that very well. So the video is called Agricultural Pollution Video. Okay, Agricultural Pollution Video. Click on that, please. It looks like this, okay?
Everyone loves rivers, but how healthy are they?
So as you watch the video, I want you to answer the question, how do pesticides and fertilizers affect the land and water? So think as you watch, think about that and take notes in your notebook. How do pesticides and fertilizers affect the land and water? Okay? So pause the lesson and watch that video and take a lot of notes answering that question. So what do you think? A lot of problems, huh? That fertilizer and the pesticides, they do seep into the water streams, right? And they cause a bunch of problems. Now, I hope that you were able to take a lot of notes and really watch the video maybe a couple of times and just really understand that though we need to farm, we need the crops to feed the human population. The things that we are doing is harming the planet, is harming our home. And as far as we know, we really don't have another planet out there that can support life the way that ours can. So as much as possible, we have to take care of our planet, do whatever we can do, right? So that's the question. What do we do? So we need soil that is healthy. We need plants that are growing not attacked by pests. So we're using pesticides, we're using fertilizers. Are there other ways? What could we possibly do? What can we do? What can farmers do to make that better, to treat our planet a little better and still feed the human population? So now I want you to take a few minutes to answer this question. What would happen if farmers stopped using pesticides and fertilizers in their farms? We know that fertilizers and pesticides are harmful to our planet. Should farmers stop using pesticides and fertilizers? Explain your reasoning. So, what would happen if they stopped using these products, and should they stop? So explain your reasoning. Take a few minutes to write about this. Just express your opinion. Now that you have a lot of information about farming, what farmers use, why we need the farms. So now explain this in your own words. So you should have about half a page for this, okay? So now I want you to take a few minutes to answer this question. What would happen if farmers stopped using pesticides and fertilizers in their farms? We know that fertilizers and pesticides are harmful to our planet. Should farmers stop using pesticides and fertilizers? Explain your reasoning. So, what would happen if they stopped using these products, and should they stop? So explain your reasoning. Take a few minutes to write about this. Just express your opinion. Now that you have a lot of information about farming, what farmers use, why we need the farms. So now explain this in your own words. So you should have about half a page for this, okay? So today we're not going to talk about solutions. I just simply want you to understand that we do affect, right? The farming affects the land and the water. The humans do affect in a negative way the land and the water. Sometimes they're tough choices because farming is something that we cannot live without, right? So they're tough choices. But there are better ways, and maybe that could be a lesson in the future, or you can actually find ways that farmers can be more environmentally friendly. You can do that on your own, right? But just remember, we do affect our land and water with farming practices. Humans affect the land, humans affect the water. Well, I hope that you have a great rest of the day and think about these issues, right? I know that you're young, but we can still think about them. And as we get older, we can start finding solutions. And even young people can find solutions. So how can we affect our planet in a positive way? How can we affect the land and the water in a positive way? Those are questions that we need to be asking ourselves daily as we do our regular daily activities. We need to think, how can we affect our planet in a positive way? Now we know that we affect them in a negative way. How can we do it in a positive way? So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.